First, should Keir Starmer stand up to Donald Trump when they meet at the White House on Thursday? We're taking your calls 020-7862-2222. It's the 3-year anniversary of Russia's invasion of Ukraine today, something the US president suggested was Ukraine's fault last week when he said they shouldn't have started the war. Trump also called Zelensky a dictator without elections and claimed his approval rating was only 4%. The Guardian reports that Starmer's advisors have given him some pointers on how to get the best out of Trump. He's got to be brief, he's got to flatter him, he's got to avoid being boring. I'm going to show you a clip now involving the governor of Maine, Janet Mills. Let me just make sure, so you can identify her on the clip. I'm showing you this still, and it's this woman here with the blonde hair and the glasses, OK? And she's at a dinner where they're discussing the law on athletes, and particularly whether transgender females can compete in women's sports. And Trump is at the lectern. Let's have a listen.
In Maine, is Maine here, the governor of Maine? Well, are you not going to comply with it?
I'm complying with state and federal laws.
We are the federal law. Well, you better do it. You better do it because you're not going to get any federal funding at all if you don't. And by the way, your population, even though it's somewhat liberal, although I did very well there, your population doesn't want men playing in women's sports. So you better comply because otherwise you're not getting any federal funding.
See you in court.
Every state. Good, I'll see you in court. I look forward to that. That should be a real easy one. And enjoy your life after governor because I don't think you'll be in elected politics.
So, as Governor Janet Mills, people say, oh, that's the Hugh Grant moment. That's when the British Prime Minister in Love Actually stands up and says, no. What do you think? Should Starmer do that?
Yeah, I mean, look, Keir
Yes.
Starmer should be firm in his position when he meets with Donald Trump. Listen, Donald Trump has a really complicated relationship with Ukraine, which predates the moment we're in now. And when he became president, the second time round, his promise was to make America great again. So he's doing exactly and America first. So he's doing exactly what he has promised to deliver for the American people. Now, for Keir Starmer, he's in a tricky situation, but I actually think he's in a situation that he probably wants to be in because Keir Starmer wants a closer relationship with Europe. Donald Trump's actions gives him justification for saying, hey, we have to be stronger, closer with our European allies. And so if he plays this right, probably everybody gets what they want.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, that I do completely agree with. Can I just say I don't agree with the fact that you say that Trump is making America great?
No, I say that's what he promised.
Okay, you said he's delivering on his promise, right?
Yes.
Okay, from what we're seeing so far, absolutely not. What he's delivering on is making huge cuts that are going to hurt Americans, apart from a handful of billionaires. So I disagree with that statement. But yeah, I think it's interesting that this is going to push Starmer and the UK closer to Europe, which I think is a good thing in this geopolitical climate. I think in terms of what Starmer has to do now, this is not like going into negotiations with a rational human. This is a man who has got the attention span of a toddler, who, Starmer's been told he has to be really brief. There's no point in lecturing him on his stance and his, pro-Putin support because he won't be lectured. I think Starmer just has to go in there, be really firm, and it's a case of putting forward a position that Trump can feel like he's been listened to and also be able to spin some kind of personal win out of it.
Yeah, but why not do what the governor of Maine is doing, which is everyone is talking about Janet Mills. Oh my goodness, she started an argument with him in the room. Would you not do that? You would do that.
No, in that position, she was absolutely right to do that. For diplomacy's sake, I don't think that's going to work here, and I don't think it's necessary.
Because he'll shut us out, will he?
If Keir Starmer goes in there pandering to Trump and complimenting him, as he's been apparently recommended to do because he's got such a massive ego that needs to be stroked, I would be really depressed to see that and just it's embarrassing.
Well, Theresa May tried that. Theresa May said, I really like your new cabinet. And he said, who do you like in particular? And of course, she didn't know any names. And so she just said all of them. You think that's a disaster?
Yeah. Now, Keir Starmer needs to just be himself. And, he's still the leader of, a great country. And he doesn't have to pander to Donald Trump. And I think Donald Trump will respect him more if he is firm in the positions that he takes. And not if it sounds like he's trying to simply pander or get a
But they completely disagree on Ukraine.
Do they?
Starmer has even talked about sending British troops in the last few days. I can't believe he's going to do that. but he is talking about doubling down.
I think
he used that phrase.
I think they both agree that the war needs to end. Where there is maybe a slight passing of ways is around what happens next and how you can ensure sustained peace.
All right. Ian in North Ayrshire. Hi, Ian. Do you think Keir Starmer should properly have a go here?
He has to be very careful. I think initially he's going for a photo shoot. After that, I think his aim is to try and get closer to his European allies, as your panelist said there. This coming out of Europe with Brexit has been a farce, and he is going to use this to try and engineer some strategy where, when he comes home, if he gets the lift from the American trip, to try and reintroduce getting closer politically and, more importantly, economically to the rest of Europe, because we sadly need it.
Yeah, but I that's quite a complicated proposition. It's like playing pinball, isn't it? You try and bounce off Trump into Macron and whoever the new guy in Germany is here. I mean, that's you're ending up with a whole sequence of things that have got to work to make that happen.
Well, you see, Jeremy, at the moment, there's so many things going on in Donald Trump's head when he's thinking about the mineral deal that he's going to do with Ukraine. So Europe, he's already said it since he came in, he's going to distance himself from Europe economically and strategically.
Well, we may be beneficiaries of that. I don't know. Thanks, Ian. Nick in Devon, what do you think? Do you think Keir Starmer should butter him up?
Oh, hi, Jeremy. Lovely day here in Devon, or at least in my dick of the woods.
Lucky you.
Just to say, I think that Starmer should really sort of play a sort of good game, if you like, here. But I do think he shouldn't pander to Trump. I think that, at the end of the day, the one thing that seems to be uniting the political parties in this country, although I'm not sure about reform, incidentally, and with their pro-Trump stance, that we don't want him not to do that. I mean, at the end of the day, he's sort of got to sort of make sure that Trump realises, who has a problem with the truth, generally, that in fact it was Russia who started this war and not Ukraine. And I think that's very important. Yeah. And their leader is most definitely not a dictator. So that's my view. But he yes, needs to tread carefully. I tend to agree, but at the same time, he's sort of got to sort of tell Trump exactly what this country feels.
Well, the two things may be very difficult to do together. Thanks, Nick. Rosemary in Suffolk, what do you think? Should he butter him up?
No. I believe that Starmer needs to call it out for what it is, and that's bullying. If you saw Stephen Fry yesterday on one of the political programmes on BBC One, he called it out. He said, "This is bullying. I'm an ex-headmistress, and the bullying that you try to stop in school, what kind of message is this going to send out if they win, Putin and Trump get what they want? It means that anyone will think, I can bully and get what I want." He needs to be firm, polite, but he needs to tell Trump, no, this is bullying, you've got it wrong.
Trump has got the weapons, Trump has got the money, Trump has got everything. He's got all the cards here. And Trump can do a deal with Putin where Putin takes Crimea and the right-hand side of Ukraine. Trump gets the rare earth. What do we do then?
What Starmer's got to do is to work with Europe, and we've got to start standing up to people like this. I'm afraid otherwise it's a very dark day for the world when the bullies win. Right. We can win if Starmer sticks to the Europeans. OK,
Rosemary, thank you. One more call before our break. Gareth in Glamorgan, hello.
Hello there.
Loads of people calling in on this. Well, imagine you're Starmer. You walk in the room. It's the Oval Office. Trump is there with the looking orange. What do you say?
I don't think there's much hope of anything coming of this meeting at all. The way I see it panning out, I think Trump is going to make a peace with Putin, and he's going to turn around, and Europe are not going to be happy with it. They're not going to agree with it. And he's going to say, well, look, I made a chance of peace. You're the ones who are walking away. And I think he just wants to get out of there.
Yeah. All right,
I
Gareth.
think because we've got two layers talking to each other in the same meeting.
Two liars.
Just really,
Well, yeah, well, they can't both be lying. If one says Russia invaded and the other one says Russia didn't, they can't both be liars, can they?
No, I mean in general.
Oh, in general. Okay. Yeah. Well, I don't know. Okay, thank you, Gareth. It's a horrible meeting for Starmer, isn't it?
I don't
It's
think so.
you don't think so?
Yeah, I mean, I know he's not he's a lawyer, but he's not the most experienced politician in the world. But I think if he's confident in his positions, he should be fine.
Yeah, OK. After the break, we're taking more of your calls on whether Keir Starmer should stand up to Donald Trump. 0207 862 22. But now, Keir Starmer and whether he should stand up to Donald Trump when they meet this week or butter him up. But that's the good old-fashioned phrase, that, Marina, isn't it? Buttering him up. But we know exactly what it means.
Yeah, but just don't do it. I think
You'd do it. If you were in the Oval Office, you would say, "Oh, Mr. Trump, I know I've said rude things about you on the air, but now I meet you in person." I think
Absolutely not,
No.
right? So Trump admires people like Putin in the way my 4-year-old admires Spider-Man. He looks up to bullies, so he respects that bully boy tactic. So no, you have to meet him at his level, sadly.
But he doesn't like being disrespected, as we saw
I'm
with
not
the governor
talking
of
about-
Maine.
I'm not talking about disrespecting. I'm just saying go in, be direct, let him think he's had a win, let him think he's the head of the house, when actually Starmer needs to be the neck and turn the head the way he wants.
Why? Can anyone help me understand why is it he does want to cozy up to Putin? Do you understand? Why would he want to undo all this American diplomacy going back 70 years and become Russia's best mate?
Yeah, there's probably a few things there. One, again, he likes to have a lot of testosterone in the room, so I think he looks at Putin as somebody that he respects. And actually, Donald Trump has said he admires a lot of dictators across the world, both past and present. But separate to that, I think Donald Trump is very passionate about America being more isolationist, and so he doesn't like the idea of being involved in other countries' drama. So he's trying to find a way
And he
to end
feels
the
he's
war.
paying too big a bill. Like the American taxpayers paying for stuff that we should be paying for.
Or paying in a way that is not reciprocal.
Go on.
I also think there's good old-fashioned compromat here. I think there is compromat that Putin has on Trump. There have been stories of
Compromat,
this.
as in compromising material.
I believe so. And there are stories about this that you can read about what Trump may or may not have got up to in a hotel room.
Oh, this is how we had this with Obama. It turned out not to be true.
Well, I'm
Trump
just saying...
he's pretty bulletproof, to be honest. He's been blamed, he's been accused of doing many, many things, and he's still, in fact, he's been re-elected president. So I don't think there's many things that can
OK, but point taken. Let's talk to Kathy in Cheshire. Hi.
Yes.
Would you butter Trump up if you met him?
Well, I'd just like to make one point. I thank this programme for allowing differing viewpoints, because not every media outlet does that. We only seem to hear mainly on this Ukraine-Russia thing. Ukraine, we never hear anything from Russia, and why? I really don't think we do.
Well, in that case, you tell us why there is a case for letting Ukraine go.
Well, Zelensky said on TV yesterday he would stand aside if Ukraine could join NATO. Now, Zelensky has to understand he does not call the shots on this. He's a minnow on the world stage. He's drunk with power. And Starmer and Britain need to keep out of this, not leading the pack. Everything the UK has interfered with over the last 150 years has made a situation worse. When we start redrawing borders and moving people around, I much prefer it if a country, as they have done on some of these things, Brazil in the Middle East and Qatar in the Middle East, let somebody else give things, let somebody else negotiate.
I hear you, but haven't we learnt, Kathy, in history that we can't do that, because in the end it comes to us, and the classic example was the Second World War and the rise of Hitler.
Well, that's another thing I'd touch on, because we're always hearing these words like the Second World War and Hitler and fascism and things like this thrown in. So I'm going to say this, that people seem to forget that Ukrainian people, they had divisions in the SS in the Second World War. Not just that, people remember there might just be combat people, but people remember them working on the inside of those camps.
Yeah, but you've just to my question, you answered a different question. What I'm saying is we can't ignore bad things in the world because they come to us in the end.
Yes, but we were on the subject of Ukraine and somebody's thrown up all this about fascism and things again.
All right.
Yeah. I know it's uncomfortable, but it's true. They're not the angelic people.
Listen, I'm trying to just find out, because you've praised us for allowing other views. You've got a very unusual view on this. You don't think we should intervene on anything beyond our shores, correct?
I think we have enough things. We have things where we have links with the British Empire and countries like that. And sometimes we've got to throw ourselves on their side. But Ukraine has no links with this historically.
All right. What
else.
about, I'm just going to test you on one thing. If Putin is as crazy as we think, he starts with Ukraine, he then goes Latvia, Estonia, Lithuania, and then he has a look at Poland. Would you call us and tell us you were wrong?
Why they were we're in a mess now by linking them into NATO. They should never have been allowed to be in NATO.
Why?
And then if he did
Why
do
should
that,
Kathy, why should they not be allowed? I understand the timing now is tricky, but why should Ukraine not be allowed to join NATO?
Well, why should Russia not? Because Russia has to be in the NATO.
All right, Kathy, thank you. I think we've got to the end of the road there. Oswald in Leicester, hi.
Kathy is very passionate.
Well, yeah, a different view. It's always good to hear different views. So it doesn't like Zelensky, no.
Well, with Trump's situation, it would be nice so people stand up to him. He doesn't like people standing up to him. He do not like people standing up to him.
Yep.
I think the world needs to stand up to him.
Okay,
because
what about Starmer? Can Starmer do it, Oswald?
Oof. You think he's got what it takes to do so?
Well, can he do? What would you say? Look, let's say you're his advisor. You say, right, you're going in the room in 2 seconds with the orange guy, and you've got to put your chest out, and you're going to say, right, listen to me, Mr. President, really clearly, butt out of Ukraine.
If only. But if he takes him aside and they have reasonable reasoning, he might be able to persuade him differently. Yeah. But I doubt that's going to happen.
Well, he doesn't need to take him aside. He's in the Oval Office with him. I mean, he's going in for a meeting with him.
There's too many yes men on Trump's side. So it's not going to work.
I think it's not going to work. It just doesn't. That's not how diplomacy works.
He has to go in there and basically say, right, we both want the same thing, essentially, which is peace. But what we need to do, and construct an argument whereby Trump thinks he's going away with a win, which is a low lift maybe for the US, where we say the Europeans and together with Ukraine are going to put forward a deal. You can just, do a low lift, and you can just something that a bit like how Mexico, the president of Mexico.
And you're going to ring Zelensky and say, we just gave a third of your country away. No,
absolutely not. And this is another thing just to make clear is that Putin doesn't just want a bit of territory. Putin wants control. That is irreconcilable with what Ukraine wants, which is to be a free country.
Have a look. We've got some words from Boris Johnson, who's in Kyiv today in Ukraine. And he spoke to Good Morning Britain about the minerals deal that Trump is trying to strike with the Ukrainians.
I believe that we're very close to getting this minerals agreement signed between the United States and Ukraine. And that commits the US not only to future financing of Ukraine, but also to a free, sovereign and secure Ukraine. I think that it's positive for Ukraine. And don't forget, the fundamental loser in all that is going to be Putin.
I don't understand that.
Oh my God, Boris Johnson, you disgusting.
Well, Sam used to work for him.
Sell out.
Yes. What's going on?
Look, the Ukrainians
sold them out.
Well, I wouldn't go. I'm not sure about that. The Ukrainians have received, in excess of $200 billion from both Europe and the States. Yeah. About half of that is from the States. Now, what Donald Trump is arguing is that Joe Biden gave them the money scot-free. It's a big grant. Whereas with Europe, it was a combination of both grants and loans. So Donald Trump is saying, for us to continue to support you, we're going to need something back. Yeah. And so that is what's being negotiated.
But Boris shouldn't be saying that's a good idea.
Hang on. So the value of giving away those minerals that Trump is after, because he's just desperate to get something, is worth more than what the Treaty of Versailles cost Germany in terms of reparations. And Germany were an enemy, not an ally. How can you, with a country that is reeling from war, How can you then punish them like this?
But it sounds as if Boris Johnson is going towards this deal now, right?
Yeah, because what he's saying is ultimately if America are more invested in Ukraine, not just through the acquisition of money, etc., then they're more likely to ensure the safety continues.
Thank you for all your calls on this. Later we'll be asking whether it's okay to charge guests.